Hi guys, welcome to episode 20 of Aeroland. In this episode I'm finishing off the area around the roller coaster, and when that's finished I finally feel like this whole area is done. So yeah, in this episode I will mostly focus on placing some more trees around the roller coaster, starting with this hill which you can see right now. And when I've done that I will do some final touch-ups to the area. Because I will be placing trees and bushes for the most part, and I've explained that a lot of times before, I will just fast forward it a little bit faster until I get to some interesting parts. I try to pick the tallest trees I could without having the trees touching the roller coaster, which goes over them. One of the biggest downsides of having this small hill is that I don't have a lot of room to fill it up with trees, because it's very small in its surface and it has a lot of steep slopes. So I had a little bit of a difficult time to fill it up nicely, but I managed to get a nice result, so I'm happy. So I wanted to have a little bit more detail on the inside of this tunnel, so I decided to place some rocks along the bottom of the tunnel with some extra bushes to give it just a little bit more detail, because when you're sitting in the roller coaster and you're going down it, it looks kind of weird if there's nothing in the tunnel itself. And because you're looking from upside down, the only thing you're really looking at is like the bottom of the tunnel and the edges. To be fair, I'm pretty glad that this part of the park is done, because I was getting a little bit sick of placing trees over and over and placing them in the right spot and make sure they are dense enough and stuff like that. I was kind of done with placing trees, but I wanted to have it finished, so it's kind of mind-numbing to place trees for hours on end, and that's why it took a little while, because in between I decided to do some other stuff. So I started with a little group of trees, and then I was like, okay, let's add some more details to the queue line, and then let's place some more trees. Okay, let's add a food stand and a drink stall, just so I could switch it up a little bit, because if I would do all the trees in one go, I will probably be pretty sick and tired of trees. So I can kind of understand that watching me placing trees is just as boring as placing them. My plans after this roller coaster, when this roller coaster is finished, I'm planning to start on the western area of the park, and I'm not really sure how I'm going to get there, but I am sure that I will build a river rapids. I'm not really sure if that's the right name for it, but anyway, to have the rapids ride in the western area, because when I think of the western, if I think of western, I think of like Grand Canyon like areas, and the Grand Canyon is full of like the rivers like that are full of big bends and big corners, and a river rapids just fits that theming very well. So I will start off in the next area by building a rapids ride, and after the rapids ride I will build a western village with train station and probably a flat ride, but that's something I will see when the rapids are done. I record a little bit ahead, so I already done a little bit of the western area. I did some experimenting with a rapids ride, but I built like 3 or 4 basic layouts, and because I haven't built a rapids ride before, to get a little bit of to get the feel a little bit of the rapids, how the ride works and stuff like that, and I think the last one I built is good enough to continue with, so to speak. After this episode I've done some off-screen additions to what I've already built. So as I said, after this episode the area is finished, but there are some small things missing. So in between I've done all the small little things that don't really have to be in the series. I just did all these small additions and small corrections over the whole area before continuing in the next area. So that's something I've done off screen. And you will see, for example, the railroad tracks runs from the train station next to the bridge, and I made like a nice cliff with trees between the pathway and the railroad tracks, because the railroad tracks are a little bit raised up. And that's one of the small things I've done in between. Something else, for example, is I've added more street lights and lanterns around the area where they were still missing, and made sure the whole park has enough light when it's dark. It's just those minor things, adding more benches around the area, more bins, adding, yes, just simple stuff like that, which is not really that interesting to show on camera. Anyway, back to the episode. I decided to make a small toilets over here, and I just simply copied over the same building as the food store shops, the food and the drink stall, and decided to just make a one tile bathroom, toilets, restroom, whatever. And it might look a little bit weird, but I had the idea like they were just two simple stalls, like there's two toilets in this building, one for men and one for women, but it looks kind of weird because there's like 20 people inside at the same time. But I didn't want to make this huge building in the middle of the park, so I know it looks kind of weird and I'm not really happy with what I've done, to be fair. I might go back later and change it anyway. I've not done it so far because I was like, yeah, whatever, it's out of sight anyways, because it's hidden between the trees and the bushes, so it doesn't really draw much attention away from the rest of the area. But yeah, I don't know. Another thing I've done off screen is I gave the Rollercoaster a color, and the same goes for the flat ride I've built in the village at the lake. I recolored both rides and I made them like a light brownish reddish color. This way the red pops out too much compared to the green, as I said in the previous episode. And I made it a light reddish brownish color because it matches the colors of the buildings in the village, and it doesn't really stand out too much against the green backdrop from the forest / park area. So I think it's a good choice, and I basically picked the same color for the flat ride because I didn't really like the black and the green. It stood out too much against the rest of the village, so I decided to make it the same color, and it still has green lights at night. I can change those colors, but it doesn't look too weird in my opinion. But the flat ride is something I'm not really sure about. Let me show you guys the color I've picked, and I will place the video in the on top of this in the corner. And as you can see, the color it's not really weird, but I don't know, I feel like something's missing, and if you guys have any suggestions, please tell me so I can change it. This is something I really liked. I wanted to have like a sign which indicates that when you follow this pathway you will end up at the entrance of the park. So I made like this post with a sign on top of it, and I realized I was still missing lanterns in the park as well. So when this sign was finished, I decided to use the same design to place some lanterns around the park. And I'm really happy with how this one turned out. It's only 3 objects I used, and even though it's only 3 objects, it looks kind of nice with the curly iron thing supporting the hole. As you can see, I just placed a roof underneath it and copied it over and using the same design as a lantern all over the park. So when all the lanterns were in place, I've decided to add more benches and bins around the park, and then the park was really finished. And the station was still very empty, so it was time to add some final details to the station building. And I had a nice idea to make like 2 or 3 arches in this alleyway, with inclined ridges going from the wall to the edge of the pathway, and in my opinion it ended up looking really nice. I really like the result of this. It just gives, it's something simple, but even though it's so simple it still looks kind of cool. I wanted to have like a small balcony over here, but that balcony was too small. So I replaced it with a bigger one later. And I kind of wanted the building to look like a villa, so I wanted to have like big windows and stuff like that. And I wanted to use this, how do you call it, around the window, this big stucco arch, I guess. To make a nice door to the balcony, and it looked pretty nice, so I'm quite satisfied with that result. I wanted to use some fancy windows as well, but I wasn't really sure how to make custom fancy windows, so I simply decided to replace the windows with some more fancy windows than these. And I didn't really like the decoration on the last part, so I decided to just use it on the first 2 bits of this building. And as I said, here I'm replacing the windows with some better looking ones. And I wanted to have something else like on the roof, but I couldn't get the chimneys to look nice. And I suddenly saw this like the chicken thing that indicates the direction of the wind. I'm not really sure what it's called in English, but the northeast southwest sign thingy. And it looked pretty nice, so I decided to place that on the roof. And I didn't have an emergency building yet, so I decided to quickly build some small room over here where people can get some help if they're feeling sick. When looking back at it though, I think it's kind of weird to have it placed right directly next to the entrance of the roller coaster, but I still have some freedom to move it around if I wanted somewhere else. But I had a feeling it looked kind of nice here. But personally, I'm not bothered by it. But if anyone who's watching it doesn't like it, just tell me, because I will change it a little bit. And making a nice transition between these 2 walls, and then the station is finished. There's only a few things missing now. One of them are lights on the inside of the basement in the queue line. So I decided to add some lights over here. And I wanted to have a few lights around the roller coaster as well. So I'm adding a few spots around the roller coaster. And that's when I'm finished. One thing I always try to do is keep it a little bit real with the spotlights. So in real theme parks they hide the spotlights like in rocks and stuff. I see some people on YouTube who simply place the spotlights under the ground so you don't see them, but I don't like that. I place them on edges of the ride and stuff like that. So anyways guys, that was it for this episode. So it's time to switch to live commentary part. I'll keep it short, but it's time to go over what I've built in this episode. So yeah, let's see what I've done in this episode. First of all, I finished the park, and it's a lot of tree placement around the place, and it's not that interesting to see, but it turned out very nice. As you can see, I finished like the general layout of the area. There's still this ridge which is empty, but I filled that up in the off screen. And this hill turned out very nice as well. I really like how the trees just fill the whole thing up, and it ended up looking pretty nice. I'm pretty satisfied with these results. Another thing I've done in this episode is placing these lanterns all around the place, and I really like the design of these lanterns. They're pretty simple, but yet they have something that gives just a little extra touch to the area. Of course, the toilets I've built, not really satisfied with that one, but it will do for now. And I finished this station, as you can see right here. I really like this balcony and these arches over here. They really match up nicely. I'm really happy with how that turned out. Small emergency booth, or whatever it's called, emergency room, and that's about it. This area I filled it up with trees off screen as well, and you will see that in the next progress update video. Anyways guys, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. You can subscribe to my channel to stay up to date with my series, and thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next episode. See ya!